Aha! Hopefully this is working and you can hear me. I think we are live on Instagram as well, which is my first time, I think, doing an Instagram live. So welcome all of those that are checking it out via YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, all of the fun socials. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to be talking about the Grimoire. Really a workbook, a schema, a journal that I self-published, and we can consider this the hard launch of the hardback, which is now available on Amazon. It is called the Divergent Magick Grimoire, and I will share with you a Amazon link here. So I'll be talking about its schema. I'll be talking about its bits and bops, its bric-a-brac, all of the production fun, its woes, its whims, and all of that, and what got us here today to it being finally on Amazon and me finally talking about it live. It's been quite a raucous few months learning the ins and outs of independent publishing via Amazon. I am lukewarm about Amazon. A lot of that has to do with my kind of grouch about utilizing such a company, but I digress. You can find it on Amazon. I will put it here in the chat. And we will launch into it. So the link is in the chat. Hopefully everybody can see that. Thank you, Groucho, Jonocide. Please let me know, anyone who's watching on Instagram, if you can hear me okay. I'm working with somewhat of a new setup, so I want to make sure everybody is seeing and fine. Thank you, Discourteous Crow. Revel Rosz, who's that? Moon Division, good to see you. Lindsay, thank you all for being here. Please let me know if you can hear me, and I will get going. So yeah, the Divergent Magick Anarchic Grimoire, a workbook and schema to create and conjure your own anarchic rituals from PRAGMAGICK. How's that for a mouthful of a title? Colloquially, we'll just call it the Divergent Magick Grimoire because it's divergent for a few reasons. The first reason being that it is not unique to a certain current. It is unique unto itself because it is user operated and created. And it is divergent, well, because I'm finally coming out of the closet and discussing, I think, my long storied mental health bouts, which I will just use the term neurodivergent to quell any kind of diagnoses or shudders about psychology, because I am not a psychologist. I have seen many. A lot of them have different opinions. And one thing is very true is that I've got some brain disfluencies, and this here grimoire has come from my own personal unique schema and praxis to ordain the day, to ordain rituals, to ordain habits. It's very much a user-operated manual. And yeah, it is now available on Amazon, blah, 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 plug, plug, plug. So the reason why I haven't come out right and really promoted it is if you are a patron or a friend, you've known about it. If you follow hauntmanual.com, which is my writing, I've incepted, I don't think that's a word, but we'll use it. I've hidden some Easter eggs in there, and some folks have found them and bought them already, even without me kind of super launching it into whatever the social media digital ether is. So I want to give a big thanks to those folks, especially Elena, Sorcerer's Homie, for all your help with the bouts of checking the gaffes and the printer margins and, you know, the now ill-fated paperback that was silently available, but we'll talk more about that later. And Jenny Rocky for purchasing one, and folks that I'm not too familiar with, one especially who left a very fair and very cool review for the first one, albeit it was for the paperback. So let's keep that in mind when we go over the review in a bit. But yeah, without further ado, here it is, folks. So it was always intended to be a hardback. And there it is, 223 pages. And we'll go through the schema, but generally, this is the rite cycles I'll talk about. And the bulk of the book are these rite cycles that start right here, which we will go over. And of course, there's a few pages, a forward, and then me discussing what each quadrant, each cell to fill in, what I mean by why I organized it that way, the lexicon, what I mean by certain words, because no matter how hard I tried to laymanize, I guess, or be more, I think, hospitable to folks that are new to magic or new to even me and my way of writing, still I couldn't get past some of the more poetic pish posh that is kind of in here. So we'll go over that and talk about the terminology and whatnot. But I thought it would be fun. There is a dear friend, Lux Estrada from Lux Occult Podcast, gave it a shout out and read a introduction to it that I think is very erudite and kind of discusses what it is in somewhat of a quick fashion. All of her words, she wrote everything, by the way. I'm just kidding. She was very nice to read something that I sent her kind of in a whim. So I thought it would be fun if we listen to Luxa talk about what exactly is the Divergent Magick Grimoire.
Keats Ross over at WeTheHallowed.org and the PRAGMAGICK podcast. He's put together a pretty cool magical tool recently, which I will tell you a little bit about here. From PRAGMAGICK creator and perpetual fuck up, his words, Revel Rosz, comes the Divergent Magick Anarchic Grimoire, a workbook which offers a framework to create, construct, disrupt, and rejuvenate the rites and rituals that form your personal lore. It's divergent because it doesn't adhere to a single current, reflecting the diverse nature of each person's individuation process. Additionally, it's divergent because the creator is a neurodivergent schemer, always seeking to merge the pragmatic with the magical. The Grimoire's 40-plus ritual cycles encompass metaphysical frameworks for various aspects, be it artistic projects, health habits, or creating deconstructing magical rituals. Each rite cycle can delve into the neurotic details of a single step, making the grimoire a major rite in itself. The only rule? Customize everything. Let this tool assist your anarchic praxis in ritualizing the mundane, echoing the profane, and resonating with the sacred rites that
of Mike is muted. Mike is muted. There's going to be some gaffes, folks. I'm a little out of practice here. I did see a comment about audio not lining up. So let me know if my lips are matching my voice. If that is the case, then there's a couple of things we can do, of which will only take a little bit of time. But yeah, so anyways, thank you, Luxa, for reading those beautiful words you composed for this book. I'm so astounded by your source of vernacular and syntax that I kid. Thank you very much for reading something I sent her real quick. But yeah, I break down the rite cycles. So first, I think, again, yeah, please let me know if the audio is not syncing. There is a slight lag. Okay. I'm going to give something a shot real quick. This happened yesterday during a test. So if you will behoove me, I'm just going to refresh the browser. So give me... All right. How's that? Are things better? Just a quick refresh. Hopefully that lined everything up. I getting worse actually. Yeah, timing is off. Oh, that was before I restarted. It's weird because when you were holding the book, woohoo, is it fixed? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah, sorry. I am not sure. I usually like to use OBS because it gives me far more customization options. But had to go with StreamYard because I'm attempting to do this on Instagram. So cool. I'm glad that worked. Please let me know again if that happens. I'd hate to get too deep into something and, but all it takes is a quick refresh. So I appreciate all the feedback. Let's dive into what the Divergent Magick Grimoire is, or at least why I created it. So, after years of working with Eric Millar, personal hero and collaborator of We the Hallowed, we both kind of started We the Hallowed Press, which was basically a label for independent publishing. And it really started with the We the Hallowed zine that I put out in 2015. And that zine would kind of become the hauntological basis of what this grimoire is. And what I mean by that is the zine was intended to be additions from members coming and going that we updated and repurposed and put out bi-yearly and treated it like that was our religious scripture. And the funny thing about this religious scripture is that it was ruined, it was discontinued, it was deconstructed, every time it grew. So it was this permeating kind of almost amiable, amorphous thing. And I love that idea because We the Hallowed, the backbone, the ethos of it is that we are all anarchic, individualistic, multicultural, multi-everything practitioners, really artists with metaphysical minds, and how we construct and parlay the art gods. And that is the backbone of what We the Hallowed is. And after working with We the Hallowed Press with Eric J. Millar, first putting out the famous now Disruption Generator, which is now on its 5-year anniversary. How amazing is that? 5 years ago, first outlet press and We the Hallowed Press book, and here we are with my first one. And I couldn't be more excited, but I've worked, hand in hand with Eric as he constructed and worked with Amazon Publishing or Lulu Press or any of these print-on-demand companies. And with the kind of advent of the pandemic and how things have changed since I've moved around so much, We the Hallowed became less in person. It became less localized to put out the zine. We started doing more digital releases or these print-on-demand things. And it kind of lost touch with that zine idea. And if you've been following my haunt manual writings or my hauntomancy workings, it really was akin to, communing with a past self of forgotten projects, of, forgotten synapses and kind of truncated ideas and drives and stuff for deeply artistic things. And so it was only natural that this zine idea popped up again. That with the confluence of me getting really sick of buying notebook after notebook, moleskins, all of these kind of bric-a-brac journals. I mean, I have a bunch here. There's just no form or function. I have to kind of ghetto customize them, as I'll put it. In ghetto, I mean in the utmost respectful way, because I am. All these different kind of journals, no kind of form or function. So anytime I go back and I look at these hauntomantic workings, or I'm working with like the Spectre of Self of 2017, there's no form or function to my magical writings, or how they're organized, or how they're, kind of constructed. Really, it's really a shoot from the hip process. Every ritual has its own different kind of documentation. And so I got annoyed with it and decided I would test Amazon publishing and create my own personal journals. And so it started with these, which are the spare planchette from PRAGMAGICK, and they are just blank journals that you can get on Amazon. I don't think anyone's bought them. It was never about money. It was more about, you know, wholly customizing my own notebooks and everything. So you can find this on Amazon. Actually, I'll put the link in the chat right now. And that was just a means. It was all, you know, a test to, did that work? It was all a test to create a schema or an organizational process, and then even the matter, right? The somatic material that I write on. I just wanted to customize everything. So I created these blank journals, call them daily grimoires. They're totally blank. You know, I put them out to basically just start using them no matter what. They're cheap. And it was great. I have now customized things. I'm using Kindle Direct Publishing for personal use and creating my own cool, unique, you know, journals. But when I did that, you know, there was a part of me that's like, well, if I publish it, people are going to find it. I wonder how they'll see it, or what would they use it for? And that's when Mary, who's in the chat, I believe, she has seen over the years me discuss all of these ritualized processes that I utilize or have created. And she came up with the idea of like, why don't you, instead of a blank journal, put together an actual like workbook, utilizing my schema that I've culled from years and years of use, whether it be for health habits, mainly artistic processes, but also, you know, magical workings, which all of them kind of fall under, you know, life is magic, art is magic. And so I went running with that idea and began formulating and constructing for a couple of months, kind of quietly, not talking about it unless to close friends, especially Eric Millar, who has helped kind of the back end of the, you know, formatting process. And, you know, I came up with this, and I use the ritual schema that's in here personally. Again, if it's not about the money, it wasn't about kind of marketing it to people. It was like, how cool is this that I can actually have my schema and outline for rituals and have them beautifully organized in a hardback, and I don't have to give Moleskine any more of my money. But you know, as I was constructing it, it was before the holidays, and I thought, what a cool you know, holiday present or gift to patrons and friends and families. And so I got real quick into, you know, how would they use it? How would people that are pretty much new to kind of magically mundane things, right? Or thinking of every ritual in a day in a kind of artistic, magical way. Basically to illuminate the mundane, to document their personal lore, like what makes you tick, what are your habits, what do you want to learn, what do you want to, you know, kind of create and conjure into the world. And so I came up and basically organized this schema with them in mind, but also it's coming from me, so I have to be able to use it and want to use it. So I think what came out was very unique. Sorry, somebody was texting me. But so yeah, so that is the construction of the Divergent Magick Grimoire. And as you can see, I'm very proud of the printing. One thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, why I enjoy the margins for anybody to write in. I'm a big note taker and editor, so I like the margins and space to do that. But I got a little fun with it. The printing didn't work for the paperback so well. For some reason, Amazon goofed the paperback version, and I'll show you here. I have a couple. Now, the covers and everything look great. The problem was the schema and my designs, the margins aren't there, and they bleed over the top and go into the crease. So, I had to unpublish it. So if you were one of the few that grabbed a paperback, still very usable, just not up to my standards or how I wanted it to be presented. So I will get back to working on the paperback and publish it again. It will be cheaper than the hardback. The hardback's only $23. Why 23? I don't think I need to answer that. But I will publish it again. I do have a few copies of this very rare misprint paperback that I would love to share with folks who are interested in a rare misprint. So please contact me if you'd like one. The other thing is I want to get this in people's hands more than money is concerned. I have ways to give a deep discount to people if $23 is a little hard, which it is for me sometimes. I totally get it. And I also, I am able to work with you and give you PDFs, or if you want to print them and bind them yourself. And these are all in the spectrum of future kind of variations of how to get this workbook. But it was important to me to at least, get the hardback in people's hands. And Jenny Rocky, who I want to thank as well for purchasing one early and working through the schema and whatnot, she had mentioned she was worried about writing in a hardback. And I totally get that. Like, it looks nice and clean, and I'm sure a lot of people have. I mean, she's a librarian too, so I totally get why she doesn't want to write in a hardback. But the point of this is to be affordable and yours, and to trash and to ruin and to work through things and struggle bust through things so that you create and log and really refine the rituals that make up your day or your creative praxis. So please, you are not offending anybody, especially me, by scribbling or crossing out some of the terminology and putting your own. The number one rule in here, it says very explicitly, is customize everything. Rule number one. So let's go ahead and break into the schema and the outline. I thought this would be a good time to kind of look at what these rite cycles are, how I compose them, and yeah, we will go from there. Let me know if anybody has any questions along the way. I'll do my best to check out the chat. I'm a little scatterbrained at the moment. You should see my desk right now. It's pretty nuts. So I hope to catch them. If I don't, go ahead and remind me in the chat. I appreciate everybody watching. So when you break open the Divergent Magick Grimoire, it is yours. It is yours to create, burn, I don't care. Like, it is whatever you utilize for your ritual processes. This is meant to just help document, organize, and work through. So it does begin with a foreword where I go a little deeper onto what I had just said about the creation, why it was made, maybe some elements of, why me? Why would anyone buy something like this from me? Especially as somebody that is so I would say gregarious about anarchic magic, about not being a part of a tradition and cooking magic like a recipe. But that's just me. Of course, I respect all traditions and currents. And I hope that those that are enmeshed in traditions and currents find use with this too. This doesn't exclude any current. It doesn't exclude any magical praxis, this is just kind of a fun way to, document and work through them. And let's talk about the praxis outline. So that is your first page in the rite cycles. So real quick, the book mainly is made up of rite cycles for you to customize. The rite cycles are front and back 2 pages, and there's about 40 plus of them in the 223 page book. And they are as follows. You have the praxis outline, which is right here. Behind that, you have your declarations and observations. And a month later, which you can come back to document, any kind of results, I suppose. Even though I'm very result-less in my intentions, it's more about observations of how they kind of permeated and worked. And then a method that I created called the Dissolver Echo Resonar method. And we'll dive deep into this because I think this might be the one that needs most explaining. So we will get to that. And then behind the Dissolver Echo Resonar method, you have a tethers box. And this is basically your notes or kind of meandering tides and tithes of what each cycle. So I want to say the book and its 40 plus rite cycles that go like this the book itself can be one huge magical ritual. I plan on using one of the books, as I have been, for a record that I'm making and breaking it down by songs, recording processes, my audiomancy practice. So one book will be this next Revel Rosz record, and it will be full of how I organize and made all of these. Or the book you should start small with and just, Elena brought this up when we were talking yesterday. She said, I think it's great for people that, to wrap their head around at first, to start small. And by start small, I mean, use the rite cycle at first for a stretching exercise. Use it for, a song composition or even like how, a fine art painting and what your intentions are, what materials you're using, all of that. You don't have to go as big as me and thinking of the book as one huge rite cycle, even though it could be said that if you fill the pages up with many different rites, the book itself was a complete rite cycle and how you honed your magics or whatever. So it leaves a lot of room for interpretation and for use, and that is by design, because I want neurodivergent and neurotypical people alike, deeply traditional, irreverent magicians alike, artists of all types, non-artists, but maybe, people that, I don't know, do something other than art. I can't even fathom that. But I want everybody to be able to use it and to get some use out of it. So I tried to do my best not to exclude and to help kind of parlay the many into its uses. So let's break down the rite cycle, the praxis outline. So when you get to this first page of the rite cycles, in the book, I have what I mean by each section. For every part of the rite cycle, it's laid out, it's my definitions for it, and I hope that it helps kind of direct or, give you some inspiration on how you would kind of organize or work out your own schema with it. So, of course, the title of rite and the date. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think. But, I go a little deeper in the book. I say the title of rite, you should name your ritual and think of it as a song or a short story, no matter what it is. Give it character and make it memorable. You will most likely give the ritual an entire arc in your own story, because that's what this book is. It's a collection of your lore, of your personal lore, your habits and yourself that maketh thee, to be goofy about it, of course, we get to the intention of what this rite cycle is. And I just, I emphasize the point of being pithy and to distill the objective. Meditate on the desire, use direct language and concise language. And I think pithy is a big thing. And that's kind of throughout this journal or this magical book is a kind of meditation on distilling and being more direct and not allowing, especially me, the whims and wonders and the tentacles of chaos of brainwaves and thoughts to kind of scramble what you are trying to work on. A big thing here is specters, this box. The reason why I use the word specters. I say specters, of course, is just an English spelling of the ghostly word. It just looks cooler, let's be real. Connoting both the paranormal and hauntological personification of the other. And by hauntological personification, I mean this specter that of which you are communing with for each rite cycle. It could be a deity, it could be a living person, it could be a past self. In my hauntomancy practice, the specter working was communing with my 2017 self. And that's what I mean by hauntological personification. So the reason why I chose the word specters is that it gives the gamut, the full spectrum, the specter spectrum of who you parlay, what personas, even what characters that you will be parlaying with for this working. So I think that's one of the confusing elements that feedback I've gotten is like, do I talk to ghosts? It's like, well, yeah, if you want to. But I really just mean specters in the sense that it is any kind of personification of either yourself or the other. And that's all I mean. From Hecate to young Keats, it doesn't matter who you're parlaying with. There's a place to put it and to declare it. Talismans. That is basically just your magical tools, your artifacts, the ephemera to be utilized specific for this ritual. Of course, in many of my rituals, I have far more than what the box allows for talismans. In that case, I just use the tethers page right here to jot any kind of extra stuff. Or one thing that I like to do and have been doing, if you have, another journal that you don't mind really just kind of beaten up. In my case, I would use one of my specific $10 PRAGMAGICK journals. I would work out all of the background mess and, just meandering neuroses of each practice and then kind of distill it and refine it in this book to kind of catalog it and go back to and research, especially in the hauntomancy workings where I'm creating new versions of spells already casted. Guys, sounds so goofy saying spells and casted, I just realized, but it's par for the course. But magical workings that I did when I was younger and bringing them to the present source. And when I say, spells and all this, I'm truly talking of artistic processes, because art is magic. To manifest, to make something manifest from a thought into the materium is, give me a better definition than that. So a lot of it bleeds into my artistic processes of why I use this schema. A lot of it also through my studies and use of actual magical currents and the reverence of it. I use a schema to help me kind of push through a Santísima Muerte novena that I was working on. Any kind of outside thing, this is a way to kind of break it down and go through the minutia a little bit closer to home and treat it like a recipe. And this is your cookbook. So back to this, and apologize if I'm getting ahead of myself. Please let me know if there are any questions. I don't see Instagram folks in my comment section, so I apologize if I'm missing anybody. But yeah, so the rite cycle, title of rite, intentions, specters, talismans, all very obvious, I think. You have then the evocation sequence. And it was funny, I was listening to Ali Words talk about their wonderful technomancy language that they were doing. And they had mentioned invocation and evocation, not really like needing to commune that kind of third mind of both of them. And at the same time, I was working on this and had, thought of that myself when I was really breaking down the schema of a magical praxis. I find very little difference in the invocation and evocation process, as within, so without, right? As above, so below. So this is a way you can obviously say it's an invocation, you can say it's an evocation. The choice is yours, but for me, a lot of the time, it would be the invo-evo. And the reason why I distilled it into 9 steps, which you can see there, is pretty obvious. I think it's very usual reasons. A lot of it takes from kind of the novena, the Christian novena, but it also, takes from Acts of 3 and the rule of 3. Praxis within praxis itself is a rite. And so when you're kind of distilling and breaking down these steps, you're noticing that things work in these acts and these kind of like cyclical steps of pattern of poetry. And for me, it's always made sense in that kind of pattern recognition way to outline the 3 major components of a ritual and then distill those 3 major components into 3 distinct steps of each. Again, distillation is a huge part of it. If we transpose, these seemingly minor exercises to the multitudes, like if we transpose the idea of distillation of these, these invocation, evocation steps into these kind of 9 things, it's crazy to see how that transposes into your daily life and to other kind of mundane tasks and operations. And you kind of see this common chord through discordant one note kind of disparate things. And I think for me, a lot of what I've found in breaking down the schema and trying to distill kind of the arms and legs of a ritual, I now cannot see the mundane or the habits of my day as rituals and as 9 complete steps or acts of 3. And it's definitely helped my scatterbrained mind, and it's been cool to see it transpose into everyday life. But yeah, it's if we begin to treat the mundane as well as the heavy as rituals or as rites, we enrich the fleeting. Notice this workbook also acts in 3s, from the sections to the sequencing alone. So another rule of 3, fun little tidbit. And then of course you have your sigil section. And for those familiar, I kind of give it away by having Austin Osman Spare in the center of the planchette on my PRAGMAGICK logo, a logo that Ryan Brewer and I designed. He did a lot of the legwork, but something I've been using for years, and he's been a great source of inspiration as far as artistry and magic and that communion between the two. And of course, a sigil is something that just permeates through all of my work because there's nothing more directly art and magic, than a sigil. And so in these rite cycles, you have a space to sketch one out and to sigilize every rite. And I give you a space in the back of the book for all of your sigils to be I didn't post the picture on here, but there's your own alphabet, so you can categorize and kind of file your sigils. So in the back of the book, you have your sigil alphabet, or the alphabet of desire, as Austin Osman Spare would say. And something I've always wanted in my journals was just kind of a quick, cool little addendum or something where I can go back and file these sigils away, rather than always tattooing them on myself, because I only have so much skin. But yeah, so that's the end of the book. Has a sigil alphabet for you, and I think it's just a fun little categorization technique. Of course, how you make your sigil is up to you. I give the famous Grant Morrison at DisinfoCon kind of explanation of it that was really inspired by Austin Osman Spare. It's in the book, but my personal way of doing them is different than that, and everybody's will be. And I also wanted to allow the gamut of, not every sigil needs to look like a sigil. Like, they can be highly designed little works of art, as far as like the Revel Rosz sigil was a drawing that I did, very deeply charged. Or, your classic sigil for We the Hallowed that just looks like a sketchy sigil. So yeah, that's pretty much the praxis outline. That's your first page. And then behind it, you have your declarations. And I loved what Elena told me, Sorcerer's Homie. She sent me some notes about the terminology that I'd love to share. The declarations is basically the praxis, prayers, chants, decrees, song lyrics, mission statement, etc. It's the text of the rite, especially the text or language, the words that you say or have written. And I liken it to, if you were to use the declarations for something as simple as a health habit, like a stretching routine, this is where I would say out loud, my deeper, kind of more fleshed out intention. And here's a space for it. So you can go super magical with it. You can go super pragmatic with it. It observes all of that. And speaking of observes, and then we have our observations. Observations are an important part for my work, especially because of sensation, stimulation, basically somatic kind of things, stimulation, really, that happens during a rite, or when composing this, the kind of affectations, the emotions that kind of come up when doing it. But also it's about noting and jotting down the things outside of yourself. I think this is the most important factor, and that a lot of us forget just how many variables outside of ourselves when we're practicing, these rites that we create or are doing, that are so traditional and mired in age and currents. We forget the variables of what the room temperature felt like. We forget the variables of how my body felt kneeling for this, or blah blah blah. And we kind of look past those. And I think having a space to really jot down these seemingly mundane things it comes from animal tracking in a way. An animal tracker's journal is heavily concerned with their like somatic conditions, as they are with the animals they are tracking, because in a way, when you're communing with these things, whether it be yourself or the other, I feel like these variables are shared, and there's an atmospheric kind of spectrum of which you are communing with as well. And it's important to just make a note of these things. So there's your space to do so. Then I also have the 1 month later at the bottom. I suppose I could sit over here. There. So I'm not totally out of front. Hi, guys. I can't really move it, I don't think. So the 1 month later is a space to come back a month later after the ritual was performed and cataloged, to come back and just jot down adjectives of, you know, how they resolved or how they resounded since performing this rite. And I like to say adjectives because I don't want to get mired in a lot of the ephemeral kind of observations too much. Because in the future, even looking back further than a month later, you know, these words will kind of inject quickly what I was meaning, instead of having to go back in time fully and immerse myself in all of the writings. So it's just a space to quickly kind of jot down what the resounding effects of the rite were. Maybe I'll take a little break because I feel like I've been kind of deep into this. Is everybody following along? Is this okay? I hope it's not too heady. You know, again, all of these terms and the way it's laid out and everything is really just a way to inspire folks to create their own schema, to modify it, to correct it, you know, whatever they feel like. So I hope it doesn't feel like I am telling you exactly what should go in there. Of course, it is up to you. I'm going to check in on Instagram. Everybody's doing okay, I hope. It's my first time doing a live on Instagram, so I am very new to that platform. I want to say hi to Groucho right there with you. Cool, Bobby Hale. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Bobby, the Listening Post Alpha's ear apparent and good friend. Something that I actually wanted to talk to Bobby about was using the schema for some Listening Post Alpha rituals involving the spirit box that we've been doing, which, you know, I'd be very excited to do something group oriented using this as a foundational kind of, you know, work. And that's the big deal of wanting to use it for We the Hallowed, and that zine kind of diatribe I went about, where we produced this zine. You can now find it on Amazon back in 2014 or 15, and, you know, kind of fell by the wayside. And now I think having the Divergent Magick Grimoire is like what I always intended for what the zine and for what the scriptures of We the Hallowed were supposed to be. A basic outline, you know, schematics to input your own anarchic things into it, and then we share like recipes, you know, like trading cookbooks or something. And so I'm really excited about that aspect. And I do, before we launch into the DER stuff, want to let you know that I am starting a kind of community kind of centered around one of these. So if you get yourself a Divergent Magick book, please email me, pragmagic@gmail.com. I don't know exactly where it'll be, if it'll be a small Discord group or if it'll just be, you know, somewhere else. But it will be a collection of us that are working through the schema, are breaking it down, are sharing how we're using it, and also, you know, all on the means to kind of construct the second volume that is going to be far more, you know, apropos, I think, than this one, whenever that is kind of created. So there will be a community around this. I can always answer questions. If you bought a Divergent Magick Grimoire, thank you so much, especially to those that purchased the gaffed up print of the paperback. And I did want to share this. So like I said, I silently put this out because I had to publish it to get it quicker. Amazon, like the proofs that I would have gotten would have taken far too long to get. And I really wanted these close to the holidays so I can send them to patrons and friends and family. So I silently published it in early December. And doing that, some folks found it and bought it without me, you know, truly kind of promoting it or anything. And someone left a really lovely review, and I think they kind of distill what it's all about outside of my pish posh word salad, big long lectures of what it's supposed to be. So I thought I'd share that real quick. Let's see. So I want to first I want to thank whoever this was. I believe their username was just V, which is really cool. And yeah, they left a 4-star review, which I think is absolutely way too kind, considering after reading this review, I knew exactly which copy they got, and unfortunately they grabbed the paperback, which makes sense because they got it really quick, and the hardback takes a little longer. It is just much nicer, far more worth it. But this person grabbed one of these paperbacks, and it was because of their lovely review and their constructive feedback I knew I had to unpublish the paperback and try it again because Amazon goofed something up. So this person says, Divergent Magick has about 8 pages describing a praxis for organizing a chaos magic practice. We'll come back to that, which fits into a cycle of dissolver, echo, or resonar. Dissolving, echoing, and resonating. So chaos magic, yeah. I mean, if you want labels and whatnot, of course, chaos magic is an influence. I think it's just become such a loaded term because it kind of has its own current, despite what it's supposed to be. So if you want to do the genus phylum thing with magic, that's fine. I think to the ethos of chaos magic, this is definitely one of them. But I'm reticent to use the label just because of how it can be interpreted and enmeshed in different things. But yeah, so this is followed by a 4-page ritual design format. Here, let me blow it up. Sorry, this is my Substack. I'm going to be publishing a Substack introduction as well. So this is what I was working on. This is followed by a 4-page ritual design format. Where is it? With sections for rituals, title, date, intention, specters, talismans, sigils, and so on. That's the bulk of the book, serving as a place for you to formulate and record your rituals. Then, at the back of the book are 12 pages organized for you to lay out a sigil alphabet, which is kind of like an alphabet of desire, if you're familiar with Peter Carroll's work, which, yeah, if you're familiar with Austin Osman Spare's work, right? If that sounds like what you're looking for, this book will serve you well. The formatting of the ritual design pages flows well. The only criticism in terms of graphic design is that the margins probably should have been a bit larger, as it doesn't seem to account for the binding in the center of each page spread. And this is when my eyes widened and realized someone done goofed, because my copy of the hardback, the margins are great. Nothing bleeds into anything. We're all good. And that's when I discovered that the paperback got funky. So that's why I unpublished it. I'll work on it and repost it if people are really into the paperback, but it was always supposed to be a hardback to kind of take over the moleskin and durability of travel journals. So, but otherwise, this is an interesting approach to organizing a magical record. Worth giving a look for anyone wondering how they might approach their own magic journals. See, I think that's absolutely wonderful. And I want to thank that person. Also, if you are that person, reach out to me. I'd love to give you a hardback. And I'm so sorry you got a paperback that was goofed. Hopefully it's still usable, which I think it is. Mine just came in today of the goofed paperbacks. Still totally usable. It's just not good enough. So I do apologize, and I would love to give you a hardback if you can reach out to me with some form of, I don't know, a receipt or something. I don't know. Some way to confirm that you bought it or wrote it. So I do thank you to that person. That was a very honest, probably too kind, 4-star review. So thank you. But anyways, that's my spiel about the paperback. No more paperback. You can only buy hardback now. Paperback rare. If you want paperback, reach out to me. But no paperback. Okay. How's everybody doing in the chat? Of course, Oswald, what's Instagram? Good to see Daniel. Feel that chaos magic. Yeah. You know, I think essentially any kind of anarchic praxis or any kind of praxis that doesn't follow a traditional current, I guess, could be considered chaos magic. I feel the chaos magic moniker is not unlike the punk moniker, and that's not, I'm not comparing or, talking about their confluence too much, even though a lot could be said about their own confluence. But it would be, when you say you're a punk band, there are just so many connotations to that, and so many connotations that I wouldn't mean if I considered that a punk band. So out of just sheer kind of respect for what chaos magic is and people that, stand by it, I just kind of humbly don't just yell that label out loud. But truly, if you looked into kind of the ethos and the the tethering of all the works, yeah, I would consider the genus or phylum or whatever to be chaos magic. This is why I would consider anything I do creatively in kind of a punk ethos as well, but I wouldn't say it's punk, right? But yeah, Groucho says, I'm going to hoard the paperbacks and resell them in a couple years at triple value. That's the thing. They paperbacks are just unpublished, so you can't buy them. But if you did, then yeah, you have a cool rare misprint. All right. So let me just get back into finishing the rite cycle. So we did the praxis outline, pretty self-explanatory. The reason why I used the words I did to organize the praxis outline, the observations. Here we go. So in the contents, you have your praxis, your declarations and observations, which we just went over, and now the DER method. So the DER method, when constructing a ritual, artistic project, or health habit utilizing this workbook, you most likely will struggle to achieve the aim in one go. Thus, every praxis sheet is married with the dissolver echo resonar method to help make opaque your headaches, or to dissolve your headaches, to echo your successes, and to resonate those intentions, especially ones that are found that weren't intended but have now superseded the original intention. There's a page that's designated and illustrates the ways to do that. So this is one that has come up with people that have the book already of, how am I supposed to use this? So I just wanted to clear up some confusion. Just because the cycle is married with a dissolver echo resonar doesn't mean you need to use the dissolver echo resonar for that rite cycle. Perhaps the rite was simple, it was erudite, succinct. There's no reason to struggle bus. There's no reason to kind of jot down or work through or mutate it or change it. This method, my intention of utilizing it has always been because I like to really get into the weeds. With the hautomancy workings, I'm redoing and re-establishing and actually like recreating kind of methods and praxi that I used in the past. And so this method is how I do that. I'll use this method to get through a rite cycle that feels like I'm just not getting it, as far as like how to do it, especially if it's from a current outside an anarchic, personal one. So this is basically a ordained space to work through all that. And it's dissolve, echo, and resonate. To dissolve, I will talk about each section, and I have a page in here that breaks it down for you if you needed to reference what I mean by the dissolve echo resonar method. So dissolver or dissolve. What elements of the praxis do you need to make opaque, to see past, to transcend your intended ends? And Elena made a mention for dissolver that I can bring up here, which was really good. Admissions of obstacles to the rites work that should be resolved. I think of these as the trees, as in can't see the forest for the trees. So I love that. Yeah, these are things that you must see past or you're struggling to get through. Another good example in my most recent podcast and videomancy work was the fully analog audio sigil, which took a lot of work, but it was an audiomancy thing, all composed and constructed on 4-track. And it used a lot of magical elements, but there was a lot of struggle busing with me kind of getting lost in the weeds, not seeing the forest through the trees, getting more obsessive about the trees themselves, I think, than the actual ritual work. And so on that tape, because, I work through these things. Here is the Hontomancy. So this is how I did it. I won't reveal too much, but just to go over, this was one of them for that last PRAGMAGICK episode and audio sigil. And I put a big thing in the declarations, which was, the shadow work part of it. Discuss the past year's Hontomancy and see through the shadow, stop getting stuck in the past. Because the Hontomancy thing, I play a tape of me 20 years ago in 2004 saying Happy New Year. And it brought up a lot of really rough and tumble past grumps, and it started permeating into the work, and I was starting to kind of hate the entire process. I was beginning to hate this whole Hontomantic kind of oeuvre, and I after some meditation and really looking and seeing what the hell is keeping me from wanting to finish this, and it was I couldn't get past the past, and so I had to do another kind of right cycle to do that. But that's me. That's how I illustrated it. That's how I interpreted and used it. You of course can use it any which way. But yeah, I needed to basically echo the prospector, which was the prospect of 2024 and not the specter of 2004. So I'll go back to this. And echo is where we're at. Elena says, what do you need to keep performing? These are actions, these are actually I say this. These are actions, these are movements, roar the elements that worked to have them amplified and repeat. So she mentions Josephine McCarthy, mentions that Josephine McCarthy always reminds us patterning strengthens ritual actions. And that's all this book really kind of is. But it's especially the dissolver echo resonar method and especially the echo. So patterning the strengths and patterning the things that, blew past, that felt absolutely like you were barking into the ether of some great kind of work. I know for me, it was working on the Hontomancy cassette tape. I needed to echo more of getting lost in. I was doing these live drum experiments with, delay pedals and amps, and I was having so much fun, and I ended up utilizing those test recordings as part of the score for the cassette tape audio sigil, and that just showed me I was so excited to work and be experimental and have fun. And that's what I needed to remember. That's what I need to punch. With every dissolution, there are sediments that persist. Jot down the minutiae, the bric-a-brac of your praxis that reflected the most benevolence, and aim to echo them. So I know, and when I transpose this working into the Revel Rosz record, I already started echoing that. I will sit behind the drum set, or I'll sit with the guitar and get back to my basics with the audiomancy, truly not not tethered to a song or to a structure, and just have fun getting lost in Stranger. And that was something, that echo from that practice of the the audio sigil, that carried over and echoed into the next rite. So that's just an example. As conductor of this choir, it is time to rejoice in call and response. What verses, rhythms, machinations do you need to have your inner choir sing back at you? What do you need to keep performing? These are actions. These are movements. It's a big thing for me in the echo part. It's not the thoughts so much. It's not the kind of mercurial kind of matter. It's how it's like your actual somatic, like echoing. When I think of echo, when I want something to happen, I make it happen, and like an echo, it claps back, but it doesn't linger. I have to keep clapping to get that echo. So it's a way to kind of jot down the actual, like, physical interaction that you utilize, that worked within the praxis. But that's what I mean by it. Of course, you can interpret it any which way. And I love that Elena brought up Josephine McCarthy, who told us patterning strengthens ritual actions. And knowing this, what actions will you repeat in the future? And Resonar is probably the most up for interpretation, the most poetic, because it is something that has kind of resolved over the years of me utilizing this method. And I say, perhaps through the inspection and deconstruction of gaffes, and then through the revelry of reflection, a revelatory whim materializes, a revelation that encapsulates the micro and macro of your initial intention and the praxis as a whole. By that measure, a new resonance looms. So what is it that you hope wallows and lingers on from this praxis? What is it that you would like to congeal into the atmosphere that emanates without you? What is the specter of this praxis? Be it either magical or pragmatic, what do you wish to haunt on? And I think after you struggle bus through a rite cycle, you do your right, you jot it down, but something's just not clicking. You struggle bus through the dissolver and the echo, and you come to a revelatory moment where you're like, wow, I think my initial intention was off. This is because I deconstructed it, because something wasn't working. I've literally discovered a new kind of beautiful, wondrous, revelatory thing that I wish to resonate. That, unlike echo, I don't need to keep acting so it slaps back. It will just resonate after performing. So that's what I mean by DER. Patrons will know that I've used the DER method. A good way to talk about it is basically like a tarot pull. So I've used the DER method on Haunt Manual for the huge eclipse working we did out in New Mexico. And I listed, pulled the cards for this big working, and still utilized what I meant by to dissolve, to echo, to resonate with the tarot cards, with my Marseille deck. I've also used it with the disruption generator on Patreon, which has been really fun. And that was, this DER method transposes and kind of mutates and permeates through different magical workings, through, tarot reading, to actual audiomancy, to, whatever. So it's there for you to kind of help deconstruct and rediscover your wants and your whims of the right cycle of which you're working through and are not feeling. That's an intention of mine. Again, this book, I don't want to put too much of myself on it or tell you how to do it. I hope the cells, the sectors of the right cycles are not directing you to to follow. I just hope they inspire. I hope they help you kind of create your own schema. You can use the bones of this to help you fortify your own magical journal on how to organize and create these things and experiment with things. I'm really excited to move. If you're a patron, I've been working a lot with the new album that I'm like literally utilizing the schema for. Here's a song, Father Karras, that has permeated a lot. So this is how I used it for a song. And the specter I commune with, one of them at least, is Little Wind, who is a specter I met through a spirit box session for a listening post alpha ritual. And that has been super fun. Little Wind has definitely held my hair while I barfed throughout all of the wondrous, transformative, and transdimensional wayfaring that has gone down in the dimming room. But I think that pretty much gives you a full kind of breakdown of what this little book can be utilized for. I hope, I know it makes sense because it's not that smart. It's not that smart of a book. It's not rewriting the code to magic or anything. It really is anarchic because it is up to you and how you individualize it and how you kind of work with it. I'll go to questions now. I hope that this wasn't too long or too wordy or too breathy. I will be posting this as a PRAGMAGICK episode. And I want to give a big thanks to all my patrons and friends that have been with me through this silent process and all of the anger I feel at conglomerate corporations and still needing to utilize them for this experiment. So I hope this is but the beginning of a wonderful new We the Hallowed Press kind of output, a fortified community. This is a foundational work for us to share and to be inspired by each other's anarchic works and art and movements within the lore that we make, for ourselves and are. Someone compared the workbook to like a tabletop RPG kind of character sheet, and I couldn't agree more. This book really is a character sheet for the minutia that make you, what you deem worthy enough to ritualize, or what maybe you have ritualized that you didn't realize that you were ritualizing. A lot of habits for me in there that if I was to start being aware of, I would absolutely love to do less of. I probably will have a ritual rite of saying less as a vocal disfluency, because I can't stop hearing it every time I listen to myself, But anyways, let's see what the context. Daniel, good to see you. I always struggle committing to such works. I have a real lack of desire and ambition. I don't know where it came from, but I can't get motivated anymore. Oh, I get you. I always joked about, I need a magical rite to get me out of bed, let alone a magical rite to start a magical rite. And I think the schema in this, would definitely help fine tune or distill kind of ambitions and wants and needs. But, I'm not saying that it will fix anything, or, it will help you flat out. I think this is a tool that can help kind of fortify, what you need to be forthright about or focusing on, or, help kind of discover the things that make you happy and you need to echo, right? Or what you need to dissolve to get through. One of the things in my life recently, because of the Hauntomancy works, has been that weird 20-year loop where um, I'm getting real bogged down and sad and weird, thinking about the past and working through the past. And so, kind of utilizing this, especially through artistic means and everything, has helped me commune with it, has helped me catch that thought and catch that feeling. I know where this is coming from now, and I know what to do on how to work with it. And, it's a rough go, but I think there's something in here that could help kind of correlate those inspirations, or keep you, focused on something. But I'm not sure. I would love for anybody who's willing to try it, and I would love to hear back on if it worked or not. Again, this was really created for me as a means to help organize and work through my own kind of scatterbrained, neurodivergent obsession to kind of ritualize and ordain things, but at the same time being so fucking riddled with Karanzan that chaos just permeates and persists. And so it's a way to commune those two things that has helped me. And I feel like folks that are new to, the idea of what magic is, and really breaking down the processes of, art and creation, can come to this and find some use out of it. But I am not sure if it will help anybody, and I hope it does. I really do. That would be amazing. Please let me know if you try it. I would love to send you one too, if you want to try it. Let me get one in your hands and we'll go from there. Let's see. Groucho says, I think an awareness of what's in the way of our intention during ritual is very important and perhaps not addressed as much as it should be. Yeah. You'll find a lot of parts, especially the DER method in there. I think there's an egoic nature to ritual creation or ritual practice, that there's an admission, or there's a lack of admission if things go awry, or things aren't working out. And for discussing the kind of missives and goofs and gaffs, because a lot of the times, I don't hear people discuss that a lot, especially in this space. I hear people selling their courses. I hear people, basically saying, "Listen to me, don't do this," and that's kind of the egregore of what, like, this social media cult space has been, especially these, facades and these social media kind of, everything is successful through the lens of social media, through that kind of egregore. And it was important to me to, have a space, or a designated ordained space, especially when it comes to magical workings, where I can be like, yo, I done fucked up this thing, like, I done goofed on this. I need to redo this right quick. Holy shit. I mean, and that comes from a scatterbrain kind of wondering, like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I such a fuck up? And so now I get to think about it all the time and work through it. Let's see. A great structural framework for serious and new practicing magicians. Well done. Thanks, Groucho. I appreciate that. That's good to hear. I'm glad that folks are finding that it can be translatable for all experience when it comes to magic. I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy hearing that it's coming across that way, at least. So thank you. I appreciate that. Chet, how are you? Missed the first part of the video, but just bought one. Oh, nice. I'm intrigued. Well, thank you. I literally unpublished the goofed paperback before the stream because Amazon finally sent me them right before I went live and went, that's not good enough. So I'm happy you bought one after coming in because now just the hardbacks are available and they are far better. I'm far more okay with it. Of course, there's always going to be little gaffes here and there, but the hardback is now the prime. It always was meant to be a hardback. So I appreciate you getting one, Chet, and I'm glad that you didn't grab the one that has the printing gaffes that I personally can't look past, but is still workable if you did get one. I don't want to downgrade it too much. Oh, thanks, Daniel. It's good to see you. And if anybody is familiar with the context, brilliant videos, please check out their channel. Some really funny, brilliantly done videos. Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that. In my experience, you just have to doggone do it. Yep. The results will be your motivation. Showing up is half the goddamn practice. Let's see. The Grimoire Keats made seems like it would be helpful to keep one on task, as it were. Yeah, I think that's the big thing. It's kind of an ordained space that's accountable. And for me, a big thing is handwriting. I have to handwrite things to kind of, spark that somatic or that like psychical engine. And so if I'm keeping notes on my phone or trying to organize, through typing, it gets real scattered. And the cloud is almost like comparable to what's happening in my mind. You'll see like Google Drive, just folders everywhere and, different cloud services. And it's funny. It's like the old adage of, the way a person's office is cleaned or not kind of reflects the person. And I think we're now in the digital age where like the way the person organizes their cloud storage is probably similar. And that's just to say I don't like it. I don't like utilizing it my phone for any of these kind of heavy things. So having an ordained book where I can handwrite and really work through something, that was the intention. Go print. I love this. Mary says, Keats, maybe you can host workshops where you guide folks to complete a full working. I would love that. Yeah. So one of the ideas was, once it gets in folks' hands, unfortunately, because of Amazon hardback printing, it takes a little longer than, any other kind of printing. So in a couple of weeks, as people receive their hardbacks and can kind of wrap their mind around it, I will be putting out a call to get in contact with me, and I will organize a group of which we can discuss ways to use it. Now, if that's in our We the Hallowed Discord or if it's in a specific one, I'm not sure yet. But if you do have a workbook, if you want a workbook, if you are unable to purchase a workbook, let me know. Please write me at pragmagic@gmail.com. I'll put it in the banner here. Contact me at pragmagic. Okay, let me see. Did that work? Boom. So, yeah, we'll go back to the comments. So Mary is dead on. This is what I want to do. A lot of it too is to, to help me kind of understand and parlay different ideas and thoughts about, what works and what doesn't in a book like this. As a designer, as a writer, as, somebody that has put it together as an independent, print guy, I want to create a space for feedback. I want to create a space where we can share the recipes, these ritual rites with each other. The goal is back to that zine thing in 2014. It would be so fucking cool if We the Hallowed put out a print zine like it did, but now can and intends to keep going with it, of a collection of folks' different recipes using this as kind of a foundational tool. Whether it's a literal recipe, the ritual rite of baking a cake, to, conversing with Hecate, or some offering. It's like, I would love a potpourri kind of zine where every entry is a cool, anarchic, different way of how folks are using it. So that is the big goal. That's the big want. But firstly, would love to host a group of folks discussing it. And I probably wouldn't say, yeah, I guess I could help guide if folks have questions, but I definitely, I'm not a teacher. I'm still very much a student, forever student of any of this. So would love to learn from you too about how you utilize it. But I want to make sure that people that want it get it. And I understand folks, from all walks of economic lives. And, if you would love one, can't afford one, I would love to get one in your hands. I would also like to surprise some folks with the rare misprint of the paperback. Kind of haven't decided how to do that yet. It's not like a YouTube giveaway or anything, but it'll be fun. Like anyone who wants, would settle for the rare misprint of the paperback to try it out, let me know. There's very few copies of it now left. And you can still use it. It's still usable. It's just not up to my standards print. So yeah, yep, dropping everything. I'll make sure my shoulders are down. I hunch. Let's see. I agree with Daniel. Very proud of Keats getting this done. Oh, thanks, Johnny. Johnny's got one coming to him. Like one of those small town cookbooks compiled by everyone in town. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it would be so fun. And this is transposed too as a means for me to reinvigorate We the Hallowed. We the Hallowed has changed so much and mutated, and now it's really just a me and Eric Millar and folks, kind of come and go and post and collaborate. But I think Eric and I would love if we kind of reinvigorated it, had more kind of a more structure kind of to it, and how we create and post and do things within We the Hallowed and our projects, whether it be the collaborative audio sigils we've done, the Green Mushroom tape and We the Hallowed mixtape we just put out, blogging or essays, print, like Disruption Generator, or now the Divergent Magick Grimoire. So all of these opportunities that are there and ready for people as kind of a printing house and a music house, and just this beautiful art kind of space. And the ethos of We the Hallowed it's funny. It's kind of it makes it fall in on itself, because it's a collective of highly individual anarchic artists who use metaphysical means to create or to work through things. And because it's so anarchic and because it's so individualized, a lot of us hate groups. A lot of us are introverted. A lot of us are not wanting to do a lot of social media stuff, or and so it's a place for that. Those folks like myself too can just post and go, or put something out. And I do apologize for people, or to people, if I'm not as present in, say, like Discords or other kind of social media things. I've spent a lot of this year kind of excising communication or like through social media groups, and I try to be more mindful and ritualistic with what I put out there in the digital sphere, especially as things are getting to a fever pitch regarding, you know, AI art and all of that. Like, I don't care about any of that. I mean, I do care. It pisses me off in some contexts, but I will say AI art and all of that stuff does not like infect We the Hollowed or like our processes for making highly individualized, human error filled things. And it's not going to overtake like our processes or our things that we're doing, say for like Eric and I. So it's been hard to maneuver of, yeah, we're still in the digital like atmosphere, but we're very much a kind of anarcho, you know, punk craft collective that utilizes these avenues to promote and generate or create. And we're still figuring out the rhythms of that and still figuring out how much we want to put into it, because it's very little. Like I've never been great with social media. I mean, as anyone can tell you, like every project I have has its own social media account or whatever. So it's just a mess out there. But I hope that we hone it in. Things are more, forthright, more, just more focused, and then we can hit the ground running with all these wonderful works. I mean, the Disruption Generator just turned 5 years old. Happy anniversary to Eric J. Millar's Disruption Generator. We are discussing some things to do, especially that he might do to celebrate that. So there's a lot of good things coming. And again, I'm excited. I'm proud of this. I'm proud of the print. It looks good. If you purchase one, it has my seal of approval. Please let me know if there's any goofs or gaffes in it. And then we will dissolve those issues and echo the reasons why you like it and resolve to find a better way. Other than that, new Haunt Manual, new PRAGMAGICK episode, probably this to promote it, this discussion. I've got what do you call it? Podcast in the bank. I have an Audiomancy podcast that's coming out next month. I have conversations with dear friend JJ that were never in podcast form, that I'm kind of constructing a beautiful kind of tit for tat podcast with her. Haunt Manual's last big kind of chapter is coming. That hauntmanual.com will be mutating into more things outside of the major hauntomancy works that I've been writing about and doing, because I am planning to put those and formulate them into a book now that I have pierced the independent publishing veil, so to speak. So I'll be working on an actual narrative book this year. 2024 is going well. There's a lot of good things in store. I hope that we all survive whatever's coming, work through whatever isn't, and hope we can keep meeting like this every month, and or however many times we see fit, and talk about good things, talk about the processes that make our lore, talk about the art that we're creating, and give us some shelter from the rough and tumbles of the universe, as it were, because who knows what happens tomorrow. But yeah, as Groucho said here, love you too, Groucho. And I do love all of you. Thank you for hanging out, asking questions. If you missed the stream and missed the breakdown of said stream, please watch from the beginning. Otherwise, I will have a Haunt Manual chapter out this week. In text, it's a little more concise. But long story short, and I'll put it back in the chat here, I released a grimoire that you can purchase now on Amazon. I am proud of the print. It's in hardback. It's $23. If you think it's something that you'd like to use, that you'd like to test, please purchase it if you have the means. If not, please contact me at pragmagic@gmail.com. We'll get you a copy either way, whether it's super discounted or I can spin one out there for you for nothing. So yeah, I think that about does it. I really appreciate you all for weathering that spiel and all of the goof juice that I can muster from this whole buster. And please check out the Divergent Magick Grimoire. Let me know how it works for you. Let me know if you don't like it. Actually, don't do that. I need to live a completely free life from any and all criticism. If you only have good things to say, reach out to me. If you have nothing good to say, I don't want to hear it. Get it out of my face. I am perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. Everything I do is great. So you can take that however you know. I don't know. No. But yeah, if it doesn't work for you, please let me know in a nice way. Don't hurt my feelings. All right. Big love to everybody. I think that's everything. I hope I covered everything. Here is the jacket cover. In full stunning color. There you go. Divergent Magick Grimoire. I believe that's all. I believe that's all. Thank you all. And as we say in We the Hallowed, and as it says on the back of the grimoire, please on